How you doing, Johnny? Can you hear me? All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
There
can
you
hear you
go.
now.
Now I can hear you. Yeah.
Nice. How you can see me okay?
Yeah,
Audio's
man.
okay?
Audio's fine.
Dude, I can finally see you. That Facebook thing was horrible. You looking good, man.
Yeah, looking great, looking Wolverine-ish, if you will, you know?
I mean, it's only been 20 years, right?
Exactly.
It's
Keeping
been
it tight.
Yeah, so this is obviously I just started recording. This is a pretty impromptu chat we're having.
Yeah,
Something I'd like to post potentially. So
sure.
we're talking about you're in Thailand. So why don't you just explain to me what's going on there and what your what this pandemic looks like from your perspective?
And so I'm in Phuket, Thailand right now. Island off coast of the Andaman Sea, one of the, the pearl of the Andaman. This is the place where most people from Thailand or who want to travel to Thailand from abroad, this is where they get sent to. If they don't go to Bangkok or Chiang Mai up by the elephants, they come down to a place like Phuket and they go out to the islands of like Koh Phi Phi, where the beach was filmed with Leonardo DiCaprio, and I was describing to you before we started recording that, yeah, the pandemic has hit here very, very hard. But for Thailand, man, Thailand was the second country aside from China to get COVID. So we found out about COVID in Wuhan in China in January. That's when the cases started here, and they didn't shut down the borders. So we got a whole bunch of Chinese tourists who came in, and they were the first ones to spread it. People were saying, don't go.
I'm losing your audio. Can you hear me?
And you can hear the call to prayer behind me, by the way.
Hold on one second.
I live in a Muslim fishing communities right over there, so they have their call to prayer right now.
So we I think we lost you for about.
Yeah, basically, the economic situation is going to hit Thailand way harder, as there is no tourism, and that's a huge part of the economy here. And so it's been pretty wild. And I was just now go. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So I missed about the last 2 minutes. It was just all I got audio or got video, but no audio. So I apologize. You might have to run that one back for me.
No worries. I was just, again, I was saying, how Thailand is hit really, really hard, but it's not hit by the COVID. Like, everybody here is really happy about how Thailand has contained the situation. You know what I mean? The borders are locked down now. In every country, like you and I were discussing, they're now using the politics to just, to see what people are going to do. So it's definitely being used here.
What did they do to lock down your country for as far as safety precautions? What did that look like? Because you were telling me that I'd like to go back and revisit your description of Lumpini Stadium and how that kind of came about, how the whole.
Okay. Yeah. So when we first started having COVID here, like, I feel like Thailand got hit by it twice. And the reason I say that is because we got hit by it with the Chinese. We knew that what was going on. We knew what was going on in Wuhan. We knew what was going on. Like, I have friends in Shanghai. I have friends in Kunming. My good buddy of mine, Blood Vaughn Anderson, who fought in Bellator. He's got a gym in Chongqing, and he actually was on vacation in the Philippines and wasn't able to make it back into China with the lockdown. So he spent most of his COVID time, pandemic time in Bangkok, and we were getting to hang out with him. Yeah, basically, it wasn't until this mass spike happened, which happened at Lumpini Stadium. Lumpini Stadium being the Madison Square Garden or the T-Mobile Arena of Muay Thai. And there's a very famous guy, again, Matthew Dean, and his wife, Lydia, they're like the Kardashians. They have a show called The Daily Deans. She was on The Masked Singer. She's like the Britney Spears of Thailand, super famous. And he got it. And when he got it, about 35 people got it, Bo, that night in Lumpini. Something like around 35 people got it. and it spread to them. And Matt was stuck in quarantine for over 30 days. He just kept on having it. And again, as his buddy, I was telling you, I was sending him the Woody pics.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sending those, which he really, really enjoyed. And he again, like towards day 21, he was like, man, like I feel like people are messing with me. Like I don't understand if it's real. Like I can't see my kids. Like it's the worst, you know?
Yeah.
And just a rough time. But when that happened, because of everything going on at Lumpini, they really crushed Muay Thai. They really have crushed Muay Thai. And again, I'll even say that they the other day, the Sports Authority announced that shows are allowed to go on again. We can't have more than 50 people, and you can't sell tickets, and you can't sell merchandise, and you can't sell food and beverage. So most of the stadiums are like, well, then why would we open up?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
even now for nightlife, they're like, oh, clubs can open up again. Yeah, but without tourists or people going to the clubs, why would a nightclub open up? You know?
And what is
Doesn't make sense.
what is the average? Do you have the average age of death there, and what the percentages look like?
Well, again, they're all over. My buddy that died was 46, but he was a lifelong smoker, not the healthiest gentleman in the world. You know, definitely overweight, super nice guy. Unfortunately, with we're doing a COVID relief show in August, and I'm working around it with Fox so that broadcast can pay for it. Are you with me?
Yeah, yeah.
And we are going to, instead of having like 10 fighters that get paid a lot, I'm gonna pay like 60 fighters and have 30 fights in a day. Are you with me?
Yeah, totally.
And I'm gonna line produce the heck out of it. And I will section them off in hotel rooms so that nobody's together. And my guy will send down the red corner and the blue corner when it's proper timing, you know. But if you're a stadium, if you're Patong Stadium, Bangla Stadium, Chiang Mai Stadium, Pattaya, if you can't get by with food and beverage, which is huge to shows, or a gate, which is huge to shows, I don't see a way of them getting back anytime soon. You know what I mean? So that industry has been decimated, destroyed.
Is this Letway you're doing, or is this just MMA or Thai boxing?
Muay Thai. Muay Thai is what I'm talking about. Okay. I will be doing, I promote Letway with the WLC, World Letway Championship. That's the group that has Dave LeDuc as their champion right now.
Yeah.
And Dave's a good buddy of mine, and he's back in Canada dealing with it over there. But like Myanmar, very similarly, is going to be hit financially very hard. So is Cambodia with Kun Khmer. I just feel, again, like a lot of people on the outside of the Muay Thai world, like now would be a time for like a guy like Scott Kent to step up and lion fight. Because the Thais, in my opinion, this is a nouveau riche country. And caste and class structures during this time are, the lights being shined on caste and class structures, right? So here's a country that like has been low society for so long, and they're digging their way out. Well, it's always been kind of cool to be low society out here.
Yeah.
And now it's not. The last 10, 15, 20 years, not very cool anymore. And I think that now is kind of a time where the generals and the people that are in charge of the stadiums over here, I don't really think that they care too much about Muay Thai.
Really?
Hard to say. Yeah, because, most like, again, I joke about it with my wife all the time, but like, does she want to send our kid to Muay Thai or does she want to send him to Taekwondo? Taekwondo is a sign of affluence in this country. So she'd obviously rather our kid go into Taekwondo than Muay Thai,
So, but what about the cultural roots of Muay Thai there? I mean, obviously it's important to the culture, and it's, I mean, that's when you
remember, yeah. But you and I, we haven't talked, but like I follow you, and you know what I've been doing and stuff.
Yeah.
And in 2013, MMA got banned. I worked with Dare Fight Sports, and we were the guys that technically got MMA banned in Thailand. Listen, everything's not black and white, right? It's all a shade of gray. Nothing was really banned.
Okay.
Right? We were just not authorized to do it. But technically, with 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 it not being an Olympic sport, and with GASIF not signing on board to have MMA represented, a lot of countries don't have representation in MMA, right? Or
Yeah.
Muay Thai,
Yeah.
you know? So a lot of underground shows happen, or shows that don't have authorities above them, you know?
Yeah. Understood.
And basically, like, what that did in 2013 was the people in Muay Thai were really, really worried that the gamblers who make Muay Thai function, 80% of the fans of Muay Thai that are Thai watch it for gambling. The word in Thai is actually Muay Tu, which means they will watch it on TV and gamble on the television, you know? And basically they were trying to eliminate Muay Thai punters, the gamblers, from going over to MMA. What it actually did was it sent all those gamblers towards the English Premier League. And it used to be that 80% of the men in Thailand gambled on Muay Thai. Now it's about 80% gamble on soccer, football.
What a strange shift.
Yeah. And again, so like even right now, I would say, like, without the stadiums, it's not going to affect gambling. People are going to go gamble on something else. You know what I mean? But, like I was saying to you again, like, I want to, for our COVID relief, we're going to have as many fighters as I can get fights, because, where a guy is fighting for $5,000 sometimes, and that's not that much money for him on a caste and class structure system, 5,000 baht is like a lot of fighters rent for the month. Really? 5,000 baht is under $200.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, like, I work real estate as well. If you were able to get over here after this pandemic, come over, because your dollar to cents can go so far in the baht. It's ridiculous. I'm going to look at a piece of beachfront land later on today. Mm-hmm. This lady wants to subsidize her rent. You know what I mean? So she wants me to help out with that. She has 4 bungalows and a restaurant on a private beach, and she wants 90,000 baht a month for it. $3,000. No,
unreal.
So whereas I was like, before in my life, like pre-pandemic, I was like, oh, I'll never have a piece of beachfront land. I don't do that well financially. I'm looking at beachfront land, homie. You know what I mean?
There's definitely opportunity. I mean, if you've been smart with your money, there's going to be opportunity after this, provided things don't go into some kind of catastrophic global lockdown with it's a lot. My question is,
but that's actually what could happen. I mean, I remember talking to my dad. I talked to my dad, like, the bubbles are going to be real. The travel bubbles are going to be real. Me and my father always make jokes about the TSA back in the States. Yeah. Because John Kerry, after 9/11, he made the TSA. He didn't make it necessarily for our safety. He made it so that people with good enough diplomas could have a job.
Yeah.
Same thing's going to happen now. When we flew down here from Bangkok, I had my temperature taken no more than 4 times in Bangkok airport, and no more than 4 times leaving the airport down in Phuket. So they are hiring people to have these, I was like, can we get a rectal thermometer? Can I get a rectal thermometer? Can you shove it in my butt? I need the data to be 100% accurate.
It's like they're filling jobs with these. It's just more filler positions. It's unnecessary. And it's so my question real quick is, okay, with gym owners, like, we've got a lot of friends that own gyms out here, and it's been crushing this entire system. I see guys, I've had friends lose their apartments. They're living in their gyms now. They're sleeping on the floor. It's tragic, and it's hard to imagine where this is going to be in 6 months to a year, and where they're going to be. What's the climate like in Thailand as far as gym owners and people training right now?
Tiger Muay Thai is by far the biggest camp. Like, in my personal opinion, it's the biggest camp in the world. Mm-hmm. They have over 300 people there regularly at a time. Now they have about 100. They opened up a gym in Chiang Mai that I've heard is furloughed, if you will. Mm-hmm. It will come back when it comes back. And they opened up a beachfront resort, and they're going to keep the bar restaurant part of it open, but the gym part of it is going to be closed. But Tiger Muay Thai, again, like large businesses, right? large business, large payroll, large overhead, and you just can't have that. So the gyms here have been kind of crushed. If you're a gym that doesn't survive on a local community and the local commerce economically, any of the ones that were looking for tourists to make that bread, man, you might want to diversify. You know what I mean? You might want to get another income stream, because for right now, it's not coming back for a while. Like, again, my mom was going to come over. She was planning on being over here for the birth of my second kid in October. Mm-hmm. And she was planning on coming over in September. I don't think she's coming over in September. Like, no offense, but you guys, like, again, America looks so horrible for everybody that's kind of over here.
Yeah.
Especially, like, again, like this community does not understand why people don't want to wear masks. Like, one of the amazing things about Asia is we have the Y, right?
Explain to me
nobody handshakes in Japan. Yeah, it's called a Y. Yeah. It's holding your hands up, two hands together, doing that. Sawadee cup, konnichiwa in Japan, ni hao in China, in China and Japan and in Thailand and most of Southeast Asia, we don't shake hands or like give man hugs and bump it out. We all Y each other, so you're staying away that way.
Yeah.
And masks, Singapore did it the best, in my opinion. Singapore, when the COVID outbreak started, they forced people who felt sick to wear masks. So that was a sign, like, you have a mask on, you don't feel well, stay 6 meters away from that person, right?
Yeah.
And then they just asked everybody to wear it. But it wasn't asking people to wear it for their safety. It was asking people to wear it for other people's safety. And you're doing it to help out your neighbor. You're not doing it to help out yourself.
So the big concern here, I think I can speak for a lot of people's concern on that end, is the way it's divided our country and the way that communication has been broken down. We've got these George Floyd protests, which is another can of worms. As another long conversation. But when you see this communication breakdown and you see people communicating on Twitter, not by having rational conversations, but just by screaming at each other, I think a lot of people, the fear is you put masks on people. Now, we were a country, like you said, we hug it out. There's a lot of social interaction. There's a lot of touching, and it's a much more open culture that way.
Yeah. Now
we've restricted our ability to communicate. A lot of it is facial expression and how we read that, and things are getting closed off. And I think that is a certain aspect that people are fearful of. And I think the other aspect was, we have a constitution that goes against constitutional rights. And so you have these two things kind of combined together, and people feel like their freedoms are being taken away. We've seen a lot of governors come in and do some unconstitutional things, and people are afraid of losing their rights. People are losing the ability to communicate with each other. And then meanwhile, we have this movement right now that appears to be, the Antifa thing with, it seems to be more of a Marxist movement than anything else. They've been dividing us culturally. And then you look at the COVID thing, we're being divided by mass. And I think the big fear, speaking mostly for myself, and hopefully this is representing some other people as well, is we've got to get past these divisions. And
sure,
the mask.
Sure, but again, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not really into New World Order or any of that type of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
what was wild was the U.S. has the biggest megaphone.
Yeah.
We have Hollywood.
Yeah.
We have Hollywood, right? So, like, on our TV right now, like, if you watch CNN or the BBC, I had my workout this morning, and then I went and got, breakfast at a local coffee shop, and the BBC was on, bro. And the BBC did 45 minutes about, like, the tearing down of statues around the world. And then the last 5 minutes was about how 55% of 5-year-olds in Yemen are not going to make it. Over 50% of kids under 5 will die of starvation in Yemen. And the only reason I'm saying that was because with the big megaphone that America has, what I remember at the beginning in March was everybody being like, we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. And then when you guys had George Floyd, it's like, actually, no, we're not even in the same fucking ocean.
Yeah.
Like again, like love what Michael Jordan is doing, and like love being able to watch The Last Dance and have that inspiration. It really brought me back to my childhood, and the nostalgia factor was huge. But it also makes you realize that if he's giving $100 million towards that, I think you could feed the whole world for a couple. And again, I'm not trying to be socialist, but it only takes like a couple $100 million to like make sure kids aren't starving.
Well, let's just take a look at what happened. We had the pandemic, and regardless of what you think of it as a disease, we had this thing strike, and nobody knew. At least initially, nobody knew what was going on. What was the first thing they did? They bailed out all the major corporations. They could have taken $6 trillion or $3 trillion, whatever it was, and think about what they could have done in the past with that money had we just said, man, these are major issues around the world. Now that's it's easier said than done. A pandemic, obviously everybody panics, but the thing is fear moves people, and that's the problem. And I see everybody right now being driven by fear, and there's not a lot of rational thought. And the primary problem, as I see it, is that communication is gone, and people talk over each other, and they don't have civil disagreements. And what I've been doing daily, which is why I'm glad I'm able to talk to you, and we're kind of doing a different thing, but I feel compelled to try to at least bridge people's gap in communication. And so every day I'm on the phone and I'm talking for probably 2 to 4 hours a day with different people, exchanging ideas and trying to come up with ideas of how do we communicate better. And part of it is just reach out to friends and family and people you disagree with and have civil discussions and present your facts. And don't be so hardline that you're trying to convince the other person to come to your side. Be open to the fact that maybe there's information that you aren't privy to as well and that you can learn from.
For sure. Again, nothing's black and white. Everything is a shade of gray.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And I mean, there are silver linings. The funny one is the woke movement, because we do kind of have it over here. The high-so educated, like in international schools, there was a 16-year-old girl who wrote an amazing article, essay for the Bangkok Post, talking about how like she felt really divided right now because she wants to represent Black Lives Matters and she wants to do that, but yet she has a Burmese maid that doesn't get any love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, it was tough for her to be, pro George Floyd when nobody's pro Burma.
Well, this is the thing. There's a lot of, again, going back to it, I think the major division with this, everybody supports anti-police brutality. Everybody knows that is a major issue. There's no question of that. What's being presented in the media is there's white supremacists saying that, they're supporting the police and they're all the bad guys. And it's all being polarized in this very unrealistic fear-mongering sense. And here, this is the thing. Nobody disagrees with the fact that officer should have been arrested, should go to jail, perhaps see the death penalty. The guy's a pile of shit.
Yeah.
The issue is the BLM movement. And you see the people who were originally part of the BLM movement from years ago, from Ferguson and from these other areas.
Yeah.
And even they're speaking out and saying, look, our movement isn't about Black lives anymore. It's been taken over by people with political agendas. And if you look at all the resources, they're all going towards Democratic Party candidates. This looks,
it's amazing.
It looks to me like it was an opportunity to step in and get funds and not solve the problem within the Black community. Look, if I'm going to sit, I'll march with anybody, provided it's for the right cause. But you can't expect people to march for something if you're not putting money into that community and you're not building schools and you're not making a safer environment for Black kids and impoverished communities. And that goes for across all racial lines, impoverished communities.
Well, so that's the thing. It's education. Right?
Education.
Like I'm not saying that like I don't believe that racism doesn't exist but as a guy that's in an interracial marriage, you know what I mean? With a half Thai, half kid, when we go to Montana, everybody thinks my wife's a Cherokee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they all, they're all like, whatever. Racism exists all over the world, but it's all caste and class structure, right? It's actually hate, right?
It's caste.
It's just hate.
It's casteism. It's less racism. It's more culturalism, in my opinion. People.
Well, but it's weird for anybody over here that sees the people bitching and moaning over there. It's also like, what are you going to do? Because again, like if you're somebody that's stuck and being like, yeah, 400 years, yeah, but slavery, like, dude, if you go to China, the racism is, the racism against me here, if I go to a national park, I have to pay, but my wife doesn't.
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Oh yeah.
If I go to many different things, entertainment attractions, I have to pay, the Thais don't. I mean, that's racism right there.
Yeah.
And again, like it's two-sided. But the thing that I don't think that people in America get is just, we were all dealt a hand in life, right?
Yeah,
when you were born, you were dealt a hand. And if you were born in America, you were at least given a pair. You were like at least given, because if you were born in Iran, you're screwed. If you were born in Yemen, if you were born in North Korea, loads of places in China. And by the way, if you're a black guy in America and you move over to Africa, if you think that that's going to stop the racism towards you, I've been to Africa. It ain't going to stop anything. You'll probably get treated a shit ton worse over there than you would where you are. And that sucks.
By white, like South Africans, or by other black people?
No.
Everybody.
If you go to Ghana, one of the guys that you and I used to work security with was a guy named Ethan Higuera. And Ethan he worked at the Spanish Kitchen with me.
Okay.
When we were still doing the Hollywood Athletic Club.
Yeah.
He worked at the Belmont with me.
Okay.
Yo, he lives between Fairfax and La Brea, north of Santa Monica. And he's the community watch leader there. Yeah. His parents own the Little Red Schoolhouse. You know what I'm talking about in Hollywood?
Little Red Schoolhouse. It sounds really familiar, but I don't recall.
Right up the road from Fat Sal's, owned by that dude from Entourage.
Okay, yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, but tell me.
It got looted. So did the AutoZone right there on Fairfax.
Yeah.
He's not a police officer. He had to clear it out. He went in there with his Glock on his side and his GoPro on so that nothing was happening. The police called him and said, we're short, man. Can you play rooftop Korean for us?
You're kidding me.
No.
They called him up and he stuffed it. Wow, good on him.
Yeah. And the video, if you want, I'll send you the video just by the way after this. Feel free to use it, but you'll notice that there's a nurse leaving a nurse, like she's in her scrubs and she's leaving the AutoZone. And while he has a gun on her, she's apologizing. I'm sorry, as she leaves with not her stuff.
Yeah. The opportunism of the event. That's the thing that's so sad is we had this opportunity to take this and say, police brutality is a real problem. This is an issue. It's an issue across the board. You can look at black, white, and other ethnicities. This isn't a racial issue. This is a police brutality issue, period. And we could have moved forward quickly and easily. And I think we could have really see some change. And the thing that worries me is that, as we said before, we're now divided. And now it's been this racial issue. And if you listen to the media, it's promoted as a racial thing. And I don't see it that way, man. I grew up in LA. I have, working security. When you work security, it's about as multiracial. I would say it's multiracial. It's predominantly white, black, and Hispanic.
Yes,
predominantly. But that's the thing. And those three different, just all the cultural differences between those people, we all get along. We have each other's back. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah, I totally agree. You remember my roommate was Clyde Ince. So I've had, countless black roommates my whole life. Obviously love the ladies. You know what I mean? I've never been after blonde hair, blue eyes, as my wife will tell you, So, I mean, I'm with you on that. It's just interesting too, though, because like police brutality happens around the world as well.
Yeah.
Extortion is just a real thing and it's a government thing, right?
Absolutely.
So like even over here, while we don't have the police brutality videos that you might have over there, there's now checkpoints everywhere. DUI checkpoint because they need to get money somehow, right?
It's another extension of the taxation system.
Correct. And again, you'll love this. So they've been trying to legalize marijuana here for like the last 3 years, and medicinal is now legal, right? But when the pandemic happened, they came out and they were like, how do we get tourism back? How do we get tourism? So all these very intelligent, well-educated Thais came forward and they were like, let's legalize marijuana, and that will make like basically Phuket or Koh Phi Phi. We'll make that like the Amsterdam of Thailand, and we'll funnel all the people that want to smoke down to these areas and have them be able to buy it. One of the generals, because again we're in a military dictatorship over here.
Uh-huh.
One of the generals came out and was basically like, listen guys, we know that there'll be a lot of money from taxation of legalized marijuana, but we need to weigh it out because we make a ton of money off of busting the marijuana dealers, extorting them, and then selling back the marijuana to the public ourselves.
He actually said that?
Yeah. And it's like, whoa, this is an amazing amount of honesty that's coming out here. Like, this is crazy that this dude is actually saying it. My lawyer, who is Thai, actually lives in San Francisco. She used to work for Wirrawong and Chinawat, the #1 law firm here. Chinawat was the former prime minister who's living in exile over in the U.S.
Okay.
And man, like, it's just, again, like the people over here are so flat out. Again, it's not honesty. It's just they don't have another way of describing it so that they get honest about it. So it's like nobody was trying to pull the wool over what this guy was saying. And he's so distraught at the situation that he was just like, screw it. I'm going to be super honest. We have to weigh out the numbers. Do we make more from legalizing and taxing marijuana, or do we make more from busting drug dealers and redistributing them through the population?
And so how was that received from the public's perspective?
In all honesty, like, my wife was like, yes, yeah, we're gonna have to do those numbers out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're thinking in practical terms as opposed to what we would deem necessarily right or wrong.
Yeah, and because morals, man, like, everybody's talking about morals and like, is this a moral issue? Man, morals are right and wrong. You learn them if you have good parents. You learn them in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I know what's right and wrong. Don't you know? But
well, people want to say it's
certain
arbitrary.
aspects where
People want to say right and wrong is arbitrary, but it's not. Like you said, are you affecting somebody in a negative way, period? Are you doing something dishonest in order to benefit yourself? And I think that's a pretty easy way to understand right and wrong.
100%. I mean, again, like, I feel very fortunate to have a roof over my head. My industry is events coordinating, decimated. But the other thing is I mean, I'm a glasses half full type of guy. I'm always a positive guy. And like, I'm not going to let it get me down. I'm going to try to diversify myself, educate myself, see what else I can do to bring people up in my community. As a leader of MMA in Thailand, I feel like I'm going to try to, again, throw shows that can spread the love a little bit more than pay just the higher athletes that are getting more of that money. Instead, divide it up and give it to more of the athletes, what I mean, who are much more hurting. So again, that's what I'm going to be trying to do. But at the same time, I started a band in January, and we started the band because I wanted to sing Thai music, because I know that it's unique as a Westerner, round-eyed, to sing Thai music. My boy Bart is from, my bandmate Bart is from Poland. He's like the #3 Manuka honey salesman from New Zealand to the U.S. He does everything e-commerce. So his lines of income have kind of stayed the same.
Yeah.
If not gone up.
Yeah, that's the big shift I think people are seeing now, is everything online. It's definitely getting pushed. The thing that I find disturbing is the mom and pop shops, the restaurateurs, the entrepreneurs that have gone out and hustled and just barely skated by. The restaurant owners, they don't have a huge margin to work with. This entire industry is being crushed, and these people have spent their entire lives to put forth a product that they believe in and love, and it's their passion. Again, all the big corporations were bailed out. They were made, what's the term? Like the necessary, I'm talking about
the essential workers.
Essential workers. Yeah, the bullshit fucking term of the month. Essential workers. So you're allowed.
Which, if you go back and watch Schindler's List, we the movie theaters, because Hollywood has also taken a hit here too, right?
Uh-huh.
So when the movie theaters, I go to movies all the time. It's like what me and my wife do as date nights is we go to movies. And going to films in Thailand is better than being in LA, bro. Because movie theaters over here, it's like 90 baht, $3,
Awesome.
and you're in a first class cinema. Well, they're not releasing Black Widow, right? They're not releasing certain movies that won't get them the gate, right?
Sure.
That won't get them that money. So they released all these old movies for Thailand. So Schindler's List was out in theaters. It was the first one out. So we went and saw Schindler's List. Dude, when they're extracting the money from the communities in Poland where it takes place, he discusses the essential workers. And there's that famous scene where the teacher is like, I'm not an essential worker, but wait, I teach people trades. I teach people English. I teach people this, and I'm not an essential worker.
That's it. And then, but look who was essential here. Walmart was essential. Costco was essential, but none of the mom and pop. In my opinion, look, it's real easy to form conspiracies off of this, and I really try not to do that. But it's hard not to say that there's more behind this when you say the entrepreneur class, the middle class that's kind of keeping this country together, in my opinion. That's the kind of the binding material between low economic status and high. The middle class is kind of there for the restaurants and to keep everybody kind of gelled together. They're the ones who are creative. They're the ones who are putting their asses on the line. They're non-essential, but yet the big corporations are. The post office is essential, but you can't go to church. Churches are non-essential. But if there's look, regardless of what your belief is, that is your most fundamental right. It's to practice a religion that you choose, to take care of your own health, to be in charge of your own body, and all these things were eliminated and taken away from people. And that's what's scary. And like I look at Thailand and what you're saying about the gyms being closed down, and like you said, Tiger Muay Thai, it's a huge place and big payroll. And so what happens when all this goes under, people are selling their properties? Who's going to come in? It's going to be foreign investors. It's going to be foreign investors buying up all the property, like you said. China, number one, the place where this thing stemmed from. So, when you zoom out and you look at everything, it's hard not to start trying to form theories and understand it. And we could speculate all day what it's about, but it's terrifying when you really think about the potential of what people are losing and who the power structure is going to move to. Because it's
but this is also where like education comes into play, because again, like with education, you can realize that money doesn't equal happiness. With education, you can realize that Anthony Bourdain was my fucking hero and then took his own life. Chester Bennington took his own life. These are guys at the top, the upper, top of the top, the creme de la creme. Money doesn't actually equal happiness. And I would actually say that it's very funny because a lot of the lower society ties, my father-in-law was just talking about how most of the people that go back to Isan, which is like, Isan is rural Thailand. So Isan's like middle America.
Okay.
He's so happy that this is an agricultural country, because what will the poor people do? They'll go back to fishing.
Exactly.
They'll go back to hunting and gathering.
Yeah.
They'll go back to eating frogs, eating pigeons, eating rats. You know what I mean?
Maybe bats.
Maybe bats. Correct.
Yeah.
So I mean, at least again, like Thailand, dude, there's been a lot of suicide. That's due to the economic downfall. Not really related to the COVID, but definitely related to the pandemic. But overall, Thailand as a place, Cambodia as a place, Myanmar as a place, these people were always fucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they dealt with the tsunami, they dealt with bird flu, they dealt with SARS. And so this is like another bump in their road. But when they lose their house or they have to downsize their car or whatever, they don't react in a way like there's been no looting over here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There hasn't been any riots or going and killing people because, oh, you have more than me. It's always been like, there's a guy up the road who has a place called Happy Jack's. His restaurant's cooking 100 meals a day, 100 free meals a day, giving them out because the line is down the road every day.
Yeah.
Because people need food,
And how is he funding it? If he's giving out free meals, does he have people that are backing,
Oh,
or is it just on
his restaurant does. Yeah, his restaurant does very, very well. He's financially secure enough. He's from Belgium, and basically, again, like he's doing it. This is the time where does altruism actually exist? Does altruism, the word, is there somebody that will do something for good and not to put it on Instagram? Is there somebody that will do something good and not try to get the halo effect? The halo effect is everything in business now.
I know,
we help
but
out,
I believe, but I know of people that are doing good things quietly. There's not, and I hope that when we go through these kind of super, turbulent times, and these we're dealing with all this turmoil and chaos, that these people will start making, again, they're not going to make themselves known, the good people. I'm hoping people will step up. Here's the thing. I can speak for myself. I feel compelled to try to do something. I don't know what to do. I'm at a loss. Like I said, I have my thoughts. The best thing that I can offer to people is talking to people like you. You're in another country, you have a different perspective, trying to bridge this gap. Other people have that same inclination, but they have money, and I think those people are handling it in different ways. I think there's people out there trying to do what they can, and they're not trying to promote it.
Of course. And I believe that it exists. I know that I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
But again, it should be a time where if you consider yourself a man, not an educated man, not a caste and class structure man, a man, an American, you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, man, you should be able to portray yourself in a light and not sink so low that you need to switch to crime to be able to get things done. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not about to, and by the way, like, you can also go read Freakonomics and find out that, 30% of the world's currency is gray.
Yeah.
Pornhub has done fantastic during this pandemic.
Oh, bang up job. I'm sure they're just killing it.
Yeah. Crushing it.
Crushing it.
But I ain't going into butt sex.
Yeah.
I ain't going into butt play for you have the choice. You know what I mean? I personally, I'm not going to take that route. I would rather, once again, be a positive role model for my kids, and keep the glass half full, keep the smile on my face, keep rolling in a good direction, and hopefully that vibe, that aura, will wear off, rub off on some people.
Yeah.
Through osmosis.
Only way.
That's what I want.
Lead by example.
Lead by example.
That's it.
Correct.
I think I see a lot of people here that want to talk a big game, and they, it's the typical politician. They speak real big, and there's no follow-up, and we see that a lot. And the hope that I have out of all this, because your glass is half full, I'm a glass is half empty, and it's something that I'm trying to work on, becoming more positive and trying to get out of that mindset. So I've been trying to think, what is the positive that can come from this? One, if we can get over this divide, racially, culturally, we can get over this and realize that we are all together, all of us. We all have the same wants and desires. There's nothing different. We all want to be happy and free. If we can realize that we're together, and we can look at this power structure we have, this U.S. government, that we always have two candidates, always like red versus blue. It's one team versus the other, and it's bullshit, and it's always about divisiveness. If we can get past that and we realize that our rights are being taken away and we're being manipulated, and these are the people who have been behind the division in this country, and then the media is complicit with it. They're driving this kind of hate. If we could just get that across to everybody,
it leads.
That's it. But if we could just stop with the anger towards one another and blaming everybody for things that, again, they're manipulating us. And I hope that we can have this opportunity to change what we're doing, not having half of our taxes, half of our income taken away as taxes every year, to go out to these pet projects and to grease the wheels of this giant bureaucratic machine, and to perhaps restructure this. That's my big hope. Maybe we can get this if we can just get through this period.
Well, we're now ADD, right? Everybody's ADHD.
Right.
We have the internet, so people are connected.
Yeah.
Right. 10 years ago, you and I couldn't have had a Zoom call.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we are technically connected. What's amazing is if we're all ADHD now, can't we figure out a way of making the voting structure maybe not be 4 years?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
if a
Yeah.
dude is in office for 2 and he's fucking up, can't we have a vote to now have another election and get that dude out and plug another dude in? But
Well, I think the
again,
idea.
you're also talking about, like, you know, again, nobody really likes the police in their place, and nobody really likes dude, I don't know anybody that really likes their government. I've been around the world. You know, I've been to so many countries. Nobody really likes their government. Look at Venezuela right now. Look
I
at
know.
South America. You
I
know,
know.
nobody likes their government. So it again, it also comes down to, like, you, because you can be a person like myself, dude. I can't vote in America because it doesn't do anything. I live over here in Thailand.
Yeah.
I can't vote over here because I'm not Thai. I kind of have taken myself out of that societal kick. But what I can do is I can try to assimilate into Thai society, make the Thais not think that all foreigners are bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I can again do that leading by example. And then what else can I do? Bro, I can try to figure out another income stream based off of a hobby.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I spent the majority of my time, aside from learning Thai music and playing with Bart and setting up these little, like, we did our live stream, and he immediately was able to hook up a paid on delivery site in the States. So if you go to theviciousmango.com, that's like our website, you can buy my Full Metal Dojo shirts. When we were doing our little live stream sing-alongs, if you will, we were averaging $92 a day.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a ton of money, but
it's
$92
there.
is 30,000. It's 3,000 baht.
Yeah.
You know,
Where you're at, that's a significant amount of money. It's substantial.
Tons.
Yeah.
Pampers, groceries, light bulbs. You know, it's everything. So I mean, I did that. That was the major one. I got back to my Fight Club roots, and me and my wife now make soap.
No way.
And yeah, we're trying to make soap. Make a lot of my room always smells like lavender, potpourri, and a spa.
Are you making it with the liposuction from overweight?
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah.
But then the other thing that I did is I started my first book. I'm writing a children's book.
Congratulations. You know, it's funny. I'm actually doing the same thing right now.
Writing a children's book?
Children's book, believe it or not. Yeah. It's been a pet project for the last year. That's an odd thing for both of us.
I'm going to send my first chapter your way. Please reciprocate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. That's exciting. Very cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are the things that I did to keep my mind stable. The other thing, though, that I did, that I like to play. And I can consume more than Jim Belushi and Chris Farley in a bad afternoon,
Yeah.
So
I don't, I don't want to break off this too far, but like, so, if I do end up posting this, and I more than likely will, I want people to meet you, and you have a lot of great things to say. So I'd like to give us our history real quick. We worked nightclubs in Los Angeles. You were fresh out of Boston. Is that right?
Yep.
Young man from Boston. Remember you being a very chubby young man with some glasses.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of anger.
Exactly.
But but full of piss and vinegar. And dude, one of the funniest people I've ever known. You and Rob. And I mean, I think.
And again, like look back at that. Like, we had Robert Grant.
Yes.
We had Frank Trigg.
We did.
UFC Hall of Famer.
Vladimir Yashenko.
We had Mac Danzig always working the back door because he was so short that he wasn't allowed. You know what I mean?
Well, and he was jacking people. His short fuse was. It was always the cast of characters. I don't know how I survived.
I got one for you. I got one for you.
Yeah.
You want the story? John Marsh. So I look up to that guy still so much. He's like such an influence. He probably doesn't even know how much of an influence he was on me. But I mean, huge influence on me. He broke my rib. He hit me on the floating rib when we had the boxing up above the Hollywood Athletic Club. He would have that boxing class. He busted my ribs up. Bro, so I don't know if you know this, but I have a show on Fox. So I have a show called Eat, Play, Fight.
Okay.
It was called Eat, Pray, Fight until they wanted me to switch it because they didn't want any religious connotations. hilarious.
Imagine
Fox,
that. Yeah.
Fox. So I have a show called Eat, Play, Fight. And this past January, we were flown out to cover Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone, right?
Awesome.
Amazing. I used to do the door at a place called Madison's. Madison's had a pint night. You buy the pint glass for $5, you get the refills for $1. Everybody used to go there. Mark Wahlberg was there on random nights. Hollywood celebrities out the wazoo, aside from my boys like Garrett Hedlund, who was with Kirsten Dunst, you know what I mean? And DJ Catrona, who was in From Dusk Till Dawn and all the G.I. Joe movies and stuff. Bro, there was a line down the road every time. And you and Seth and John, Big Brian came. Hold on, because this is good. But the other dude that was there that night was number 47 for UCLA Bruins, Audie Attar. And Audie used to come by the line, and he'd give me a tip and be like, yo, I'm going to roll in with this crew. Him and Rodney Leslie and all those boys would roll through. Well, Audie is now Conor's manager.
Oh, you're kidding me.
He now owns Paradigm Agency. I think he's the biggest, aside from Dana White, I think that he is one of the major people behind the scenes in mixed martial arts. He's one of the biggest. And now, how did my relationship start with him? It started because there was a huge fight, and it went to court, and I lost my job because of that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I then went on to work with you more at the Hollywood Athletic Club. I went to work for the Belmont Spanish Kitchen. Went and worked with Aaron Cohen, who owned IMS, Israeli Military Services. Mm-hmm. And that was the kickoff for, like, you know, again, like all of the negatives that have been in my lifetime have actually wound up to be positives. I move over to LA in 2000. I don't have a job. I work security. 9/11 happens. Well, then we need security. So now I have a great line of income streams, and I'm working every night, you know?
Yeah.
And then I start traveling every December, October, because, you know, I enjoyed it and I was able to, you know?
Yeah.
You then are working for Dr. Dre and Aftermath, and I was trying to work with you doing those 50 Cent game music videos. Do you remember this?
Oh no, I remember those times. Yeah, but
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well,
finish your story.
Needless to say, well, it's just funny because I remember you working the Vibe Music Awards, right?
I don't think I did Vibe. Was that
you didn't do Vibe? But
when Dre got hit,
when Dre got hit,
I was off that night, but I got a call at 2 a.m. that evening.
So you were off. I didn't get to work that either, but that was the start of my Thailand career.
Interesting.
Like that happened in October of 2004. I was doing financially pretty well. Johnny Marsh was, again, a huge influence. I was going to the Bomb Squad, right?
Okay.
Where, by the way, at the time, Eddie Bravo was there every day. Nobody knew who Eddie Bravo was.
Yeah, that was back in the early days when he was being talked about locally, but nobody really knew who he was yet.
Rob Kamen.
Yeah.
Rob Kamen was the boxing coach.
Crazy.
And he was coaching Brandon Vera, like, on the daily. And Rob Kamen was like, you should go to Amsterdam. I remember being like, yeah, but I've trained at Majiro Gym. I want to go out to Thailand. And he was like, yeah, well, you should go out and go to Savorpin. You should go to Sit Yat Tong. I came out here in 2004, was here for 3 months, didn't like Thailand, wasn't here for the girls or the partying. You know, tsunami happens.
You were there when it happened.
So I was here for November and December, and I was on the island of Koh Phi Phi, and I fell in love with Thailand on Koh Phi Phi, and I loved it. My parents had gotten divorced that year, and there was no reason for me to come home for Christmas. My mother was like, if you don't change your flight, you're a horrible son. So I left Koh Phi Phi on the 23rd of December. I flew out of Bangkok on Christmas Day. And by the time I landed in LA, the tsunami had happened. Are you with me? Because I live in the future. I'm like 15 hours ahead of you.
So where you were at, was it decimated?
10,000 people on the island. 6,000 of them went to sea.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of close friends.
Oh, I lost about 20 friends. Yeah. Lost a whole bunch of friends. Had a whole bunch of friends that were on the, it's funny because when we talk about survival, like I was with a buddy of mine a couple days ago and we were discussing the tsunami and how he was at his dive shop. And when the wave came in, they all had to climb through a hole in the roof. And he had a guy grab his leg and he couldn't hang on, right? So what'd he do? Kick that motherfucker off.
Yeah. Survival.
Did he kill him? Well, technically, but he was trying to save himself.
But here's the thing: in those instances, you can't go back and think that way,
No.
because you're trying to survive. If you have a family, and if one person goes down, it's better to have one person survive than two people die. And there's
100%. Yep, for sure. So
that
was again. If it wasn't for the tsunami, I wouldn't have come back here. I came back here March 9th, 2005, the day that Biggie Smalls died. That's how I remember it. And again, like, I was here so I remember being here in 2005, I stayed from March until December. And I went back to LA and I was picked up from, in LA by my buddy, Garrett Hedlund. And Garrett had just done Friday Night Lights, the football movie.
Yeah.
And they picked me up in the Escalade, because of course it's 2005. And they drove me to the Xbox 360, like the Xbox release party in the hills. And I'm sitting there, chiefing down, if you will, having a smoke. Garrett is playing Xbox next to Wilmer Valderrama and Snoop Dogg. And some dude comes over to me and he's like, "Who are you here with?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm with Garrett and DJ." And they were like, "Oh, so you're Turtle." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "You're Entourage." I didn't even know what Entourage was.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I went home and watched Entourage and I was like, "Shit, I ain't Turtle." Like I ain't, And I remember also being at that party and having a girl come over to me. And at that time I was like, in my head, I was kind of trying to impress people in LA by being the Thai guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting.
I was just living on an island. There were no cars. And then I had these girls come over and, what kind of car you drive? What's your zip code? And I remember just being like, dude, I need to go back to Thailand. Like, I ain't doing this anymore. So I came back to Thailand in 2006 via land, drove across country from LA to Boston. My only flight was a flight from Boston to Ireland. Then Ireland, boat to France, France up to the Netherlands, Netherlands through Germany, through Poland, through Belarus to Moscow, Trans-Siberian Railroad through Mongolia to Beijing. Beijing down to Vietnam, Vietnam through Cambodia to Thailand.
So why did you end up going that route rather than a direct flight?
Adventure.
Beautiful.
I mean,
beautiful.
Yo, man, the other thing that I think everything that should be taught by this is we know old people want stories. They don't give a shit what they die with. They don't give a shit what how much money they have when they're in their 70s and 80s and their body is done. They're still mentally there, right? They want story time. So if you live your life trying to chase that dollar and you don't have any stories, ooh, buddy, you're gonna be 80 and you're gonna be pissed off at your life because you didn't do shit. So I saved enough money to be able to do that trip, knowing that not a lot of people get to travel on the Trans-Siberian Railroad. And I always thought that I was going to be able to like write a motorcycle diaries or write a book about it, which I haven't because I'm two shakes away from being illiterate. But
is it laziness or illiterate?
It's a bit of both, what I mean? It's definitely a bit of both. I'll get it down, it's coming out in things like this. Yeah. Talking about it makes it, but how old are you now?
I'll be 43 this year. 43.
And so again, I'm 40, bro. You know,
you're a young man.
And I kicked the shit out of my 30s.
Yeah.
Kicked the shit out of them. Been to have meetings with Cambodian generals on the borders of countries to talk about bare knuckle fighting.
I know that goes well on a resume. Not a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Well, it's definitely interesting. I mean, I am like an ADHD boy, and everybody in my family suffers from dyslexia and stuff. But one thing that's done for me is it's definitely made me an auditory learner,
Yeah.
right? So
Well,
so when I was in high school, I was always given a language waiver and never told to learn another language. And then when I was in LA and I was working at the Belmont, I loved me some the all of the staff, all the Guatemalans, all the Venezuelans, all the Mexicans. So then I started Lo siento, solamente puedo decir hola, ¿cómo estás? And I started realizing, oh snap, I can do that. So when I came over here and I started hearing everybody use Thai, and I can't read and write the Thai language because it's 44 characters, even though even though it is a auditory language as well. It's a what is it called when the B sounds like B? Automatopoeia. I don't remember what it is. You know what I'm talking about, though.
I do, but I couldn't explain it.
Right.
I
So
understand what you're talking about. Yeah.
Kokai is the first character. That's their A. That sounds like G. G. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So I started being able to put it together, like, and I've had a lot of talks about this, like, especially with my cousins and things. If you're in America and you could learn Mandarin Chinese right now, best thing you could probably ever do.
Yeah.
If you're in America and you can learn Thai and come over here, there's a space for you. And I don't know if you know this, but I sing the national anthem here. I can sing 3 national anthems. Working on 5. I'm working on Myanmar and Cambodia. But I can sing the Thai national anthem. I can sing obviously the American national anthem, and I can sing the Malaysian national anthem, Negaraku. And what it does for respect when you go to a society and you try to assimilate even a little bit, the respect level that you get from trying to learn a little bit of the savage tongue, if you will. Sawadi kap to kon kapom, pumrak patet Thai, tuk yang nakap. I love Thailand. I love, it opens so many doors. And I'm not talking about doors in terms of me getting the most money behind it. I'm talking about the relationships that it builds are priceless, bro. Priceless.
I'm always surprised when people move to other countries and then want to change the customs or language.
Yeah.
That I find surprising because people move places because they find that life is a better life for them.
Yeah.
Right?
I miss my friends. I miss my family.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been homesick for 15 years until the George Floyd shit happened. And then I didn't miss Boston. I missed LA, dude. I missed, again, my friend Ethan Higuera, and I feel bad for him because he has to carry a Glock and clean out AutoZone when he's not even a police officer.
Yeah.
I missed being there in the action with all my boys who are literally just trying to save their own, again, families and households,
Yeah.
So, but do I plan on going back to America? Dude, I don't even think, like you were talking about resume. I can't go back there and throw on a CV that I've hosted Burmese bare knuckle boxing shows for the last 10 years and that I need a job doing that. Even though the WLC is planning on going to the US. But I still think that the travel bubbles, that, like, if you got, okay, so say you're a conspiracy theorist and you don't believe in COVID, fine. Well, if you don't get that situation sorted, you're not going to be able to travel the world.
That's it.
In the last 15 years, it went from everybody in Thailand loving America to now people being like, what the fuck are they doing over there?
Yeah.
And right now, Thailand is trying to open its borders for everybody. Right now, it will open up for businessmen, tourists that can prove that they will spend money. So, like, medical tourism is opening up. So, like, you have an appointment. Yeah. But you have to 14-day quarantine when you get here. So you have to be able to pay for that quarantine too. So anybody that's planning a trip.
Where are the quarantines set up? Is it any hotel?
Pattaya. Yeah. So you fly into Bangkok, they pick you up on a van, they drive you an hour and a half to the beachside town of Pattaya, and then you have a choice of 7 hotels that you pay for, and you stay at those hotels and they check you every day. And then after the 14 days, you're allowed to travel throughout Thailand. But if you're a guy that doesn't have, like, I always tell my friends that are coming over here, don't come over here for less than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not now. That's just, bro,
No,
like
time change,
it takes 26 hours. Yeah, it takes 26 hours to get here, you know?
Yeah.
So like, but it used to be that Americans held the strongest passport in the world. When I first came here, we had the strongest passport. Now Singapore is the strongest. Finland is, I think, second. Sweden's right up there. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Where are you at?
Yeah.
Sweden's up there. But basically, the American passport now is going to be limited.
And so
Also,
is that directly in response to the COVID crisis, or is that something else that's just slowly degenerated our standing worldwide?
slowly degenerating, and then this has been a domino that knocked it over. I mean, but America doesn't, like, 80% of Australians have their passport and try to use it by the time they're 18, because obviously Australia is an island.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like 80% of Americans by the time they're 18 don't have their passport. I think there's statistics about Americans only traveling outside the country once, and normally that's to Mexico, or Europe if you're from Boston and all that. It used to be, and again, there's little things that the government takes away to extort more money that Americans don't even realize and don't care about. The major one for me was that when I originally came over here, you paid $119 for your passport, and you got 90 pages in your passport. Now you pay $195 and you get 30. So they've taken away all your pages in your passport because they want you to pay more money every time you have those stamps filled up. Yeah. I've gone through 4 passports in the last 5 years. And you know what I mean? And every time I do it, it pisses me off because I'm like, bro, why didn't somebody get on this? Why wasn't there some American who, like, was an Anthony Bourdain type of character who could have literally been like, bro, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but they're taking away 60 of our pages.
But what's the percentage of people that are traveling that much that, you know, it's such a small minority? That's the problem. There's so many issues in the world now, and there's so many fingers pointing in different directions, and everything's a problem, and everything's, you know, that. But
well, the other funny one for that,
problem.
For sure. Do you remember, like, that conspiracy theory movie that came out after 9/11, Zeitgeist?
Oh yeah, very well.
Well, remember, in that movie is correct about some things and dead wrong about others. Yeah. Here we are 20 years later. That movie was saying that they were going to break the world into 4 parts. They were going to go after a one world currency, but it was going to be after 4 parts. Now, I'm not saying that they're not going after one world currency, but with crypto and all the rest, it ain't going to happen. Anyway, to further it, basically it's the opposite of that movie, which is going to happen. Because every country is its own economic system. And so you want to cut the borders off. You want everybody to stay because you want them to spend money in your society, in your economy. So you don't want people to go. So the bot's still going to become the bot. The yen's still going to be the yen. You feel me on that?
I understand, but what happens? Do you think we're looking at countries perhaps getting eaten up by larger countries, by countries that are able to survive this?
Well, they already are, but let's stop even talking about countries. We know that there's 10 companies that, like, basically run the world, right? Disney is everything. GE is everything. Here's a story for you that I think is very funny about Thailand during this pandemic, which we have gotten to watch over here, which has been hilarious to me. And I'll tell you why it's hilarious too, because I live in a gray section and I don't follow all the rules, but here it is. Thailand was one of 2 countries to go on prohibition during this. Okay. So when COVID happened and the lockdown started around St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, they stopped selling alcohol in the country. You were not allowed to sell alcohol. And we went on full prohibition. So no 7-Elevens, no Tesco Lotuses, no Ralphs or Albertsons could sell alcohol. And people were like, what the fuck is that all about? Prayut, the military dictator in charge, the general in charge, he went and asked help for COVID relief from what are called the billionaire families here. Mm-hmm. These are families like Chang, the beer, TCC Thai Bev. They own the most land in Thailand. It's the number 3 beer here. The number 3 beer, because actually there's a Filipino beer called San Miguel that has taken charge. But the number 3 is Singha. Singha is a huge family, right? Billions and billions and billions of dollars. He asked all the billionaire families for relief. Oddly enough, none of them decided to step up and give money. So he extended prohibition. Not only that, he shut down many more companies that were related towards alcohol, the methods, the MOD, the merchants of death, cigarettes, gambling, porn, all these, you know, guns. He put all these huge, he locked them all down. Why did he do that? Because he made them basically bribe their way out. It wasn't until CP Group gave a $5 million USD, not bought, factory towards making masks for the whole country that they opened up 7-Elevens again in order to allow those beer companies to sell beer. Again, like I said, I'm a party boy, bro. I can fucking crush Chris Farley. Jim Belushi ain't got nothing on me. You know what I mean? But I stopped drinking alcohol. Sure, it was for somewhat health reasons, but mainly it was I want to keep my wits about me when this shit's going on. Now I'm kind of drinking again, and I'm having glasses of wine every now and again. But I didn't want to sit in my home getting shit-faced with my fucking 3-year-old son and my pregnant wife. You know what I mean?
It's a good plan.
So yeah, exactly. Focus on your immune system. Focus on these things. Another funny one about immune systems, my boy is 3 years old. When they shut down all the gyms, like you said, I live in a pretty nice condo in Bangkok. We have a pool and a gym, and they shut down the pool and the gym, right? Well, the day that they opened up the pool, every kid in my condo was using the pool, and it was like a party. Every child underneath the age of 7 was putting on their swimmies and jumping in. It was so much fun. And my kid got a virus. And immediately his temperature was so high, and my wife's freaking out, and his temperature got up to 103. So COVID goes into your head.
Yeah.
So you take him to the hospital. The nurse said, don't worry about it. We've had about 30-something children come in here today. What it is their immune systems have been low because they're not getting vitamin D, because they're not getting the nutrition and everything that goes with keeping your immune system up. Then you put them in a pool that just got chlorinated and cleaned so that they could go into it, and their immune systems were low, and they drank a whole bunch of the pool water, and it attacked their immune systems, and they all got sick. And the doctor literally was like, when we have the next pandemic, we're going to have to think about the immune system.
So this is the funny thing, John. You know, the business I'm in now, I'm selling supplements, and I'm in a partnership, and the whole thing is based around health. This is one of the first things that I started talking about. People were getting suppressed on social media for saying anything about vitamin D, when a lot of experts were coming out and saying, look, inadequate vitamin D and your immune system suffers. Seems to be the primary cause. If you have inadequate vitamin D, your levels for severe outcomes from COVID go through the roof. That and the comorbidities. So what did they do? They locked people in their homes. They kept everybody away from sunlight. Their immune systems you're not getting any other input from the environment. You're getting depressed, and it just keeps getting further and further. Now they realize, you know, the new research that I've been hearing is that because of the way the spike protein is set up, they don't believe that there's any way it could have originated in nature, right? So they believe it was created in a lab. It either escaped the lab or it was released. And because of that, it's more optimal for the virus to be transmitted in the home, inside residences, because any exposure to UV light, and it's basically done. It can't survive outdoors. But now it's the same thing. It's, you know, there's just not a lot of common sense, and you're in either one of two camps when you see something like that. You either go, A, this is conspiracy, they want you sicker, or B, it's just ignorance and they're just that messed up. And I don't know, man. I've seen a pretty inept medical system here, and I'm not surprised that people are just that dumb and that unorganized, but it amazes me. It amazes me that things like that, and even in Thailand, where you would think that they might not even be as knowledgeable about vitamin D and those basic key components.
But people over here, again, they don't know why we're doing so well. You know what I mean? And
again,
they were saying lack of testing, huh?
So talk about the numbers. I don't think we've gone over that in this part of it. The numbers in
I don't,
Thailand,
58 dead.
58.
58 dead.
And how many confirmed? See, the problem we're having here is people are getting run over by a bus and then they're getting
Right.
tested. They're like, oh, he had COVID, so that's a COVID death. I assume they're
Right.
not doing that there.
They're not doing that here. And I mean, and yeah, I think it's at least 3,000 people still have it here.
Okay. 58
don't know
dead
what the,
since March, since January, since it started.
yeah. And again, like the people here that are really trying to open up the country are again saying, if this was a government looking after your health issue, 44 deaths a day in Thailand on motorbike.
Yeah, exactly.
44 deaths a day on motorbike, only 58 due to COVID. What's the deal with that? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
people are freaking out about that. I don't know why Thailand is doing so well. I'm obviously not an epidemiologist, but are the germs classes too? Are you guys living in Rome? And the reason that you're just getting hit is because you're of a higher class structure, and the germs actually are racist too, and they're going after wealthy white people. You know what I mean?
I'm sure there are some theories out there, but
sure.
There's some crazy. No, this is the thing. There's an agenda. There's manipulation. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's an election year. There's a lot of advantage for this happening now. Again, you look at BLM. Where did it first spark up? It was right before the 2016 elections, and now we're back here again. And again, not to sidetrack, but we can say there are things that you can do for the community that are directly for the community. That movement doesn't appear to be, from my perspective, it doesn't appear to be what it is. We've got a lot of things. This election is a major event because we have these polarizing characters and we have this very limited system where we don't have many options. And so because of that, we're going to see manipulation across the board, and anything we can, if one party believes that they're going to get over on the other party, that's the thing that troubles me. I look at Thailand and you're saying 58 dead in 4 months, 58 dead.
Cambodia's only had one death in Cambodia.
One. And here there's this fear mongering, and people are believing, like right now, the big talk is, oh my God, it's spreading. The numbers are going crazy. Everybody's getting it. But then you look at the actual chart and deaths are down. So it's like, okay, well, either we're getting herd immunity, it's either getting better because it's spreading and because the death rate's going lower and we're getting more people tested for it. I mean, there's really nothing else. I don't know how I don't see how that could be.
Sure. But when we go back to glasses half empty, glasses half full, and what you want to do, I'm not an economist either, and I'm not entrepreneurial enough to want to take advantage of the situations. But I am worldly enough to know that I had friends that live in China, that live in the US as well, that took advantage of the stock market because they knew that this was coming.
Yeah.
I have friends. My biggest success story during this whole time is one of my partners for my Full Metal Dojo show is TCB Security, taking care of business security. This is a Swedish guy named Biggie. He's like 6'9", obviously huge, Yeah. In January, I was with him, and he was going to Istanbul. And he was like, do you want to come with me to Turkey? I'm going to get N95 masks. And I was like, what the fuck is an N95 mask? He was going there because of air pollution in Bangkok and Beijing. So he was planning on making masks for the Thais, for the pollution in, again, Beijing, Shanghai, and Bangkok. And he went to Istanbul, made friends with the manufacturers, had the shipping route to Malaysia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then COVID happens. The dude's made mint.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Am I going to take something away from him? No. He wasn't trying to sell masks to Europe and the US. He was trying to sell them here for pollution. But then it happened, and everybody in LA needed a mask. And my friend Dr. Torrington, who's dealt out some stitches to some of our security friends.
Dr. Torrington.
Yeah, Dr. Matthew Torrington. He gave stitches to Spiker on occasion. He might have even given them to Robert Grant.
Man, that's funny. The old names ring bells. It's been a long time.
Yeah. So, the other problem when you're talking about the woke community that are again the Chazzes of the world, which was really really funny for me, and I love Andrew Schulz and his comedy.
The guy's
And,
amazing, isn't he?
Amazing,
Top tier.
amazing.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm gonna try to work with that dude in the future. I want to, you know what I mean? I really
John,
do want him on my
hey,
show.
listen, I don't want to derail you. I want to say one thing as your friend, having known you for this long. I feel like I feel like we haven't missed a beat. I feel like it's just right back in the Hollywood Athletic Club days right now. You're one of the funniest people I've ever known. You're extremely bright, regardless of what you think about your learning capacity or whatever. You're intelligent. You're far more intelligent than most of the people walking on this planet. And if you got into comedy, I'm a huge comedy fan. I've got some friends
Yeah.
back in LA that are big in the scene and industry, and I'm obsessed with comedy. The fact that the Comedy Store is down there kills me being in Seattle, because dude, that's my favorite place on earth.
Yes.
If you
Yes.
went into
Well,
that, if you just tell your stories, you have all the charisma and you have all the talent. I hope maybe with everything happening now, you're always looking to parlay and go, do things in other fields. You could move right into this comedy field. You need to shoot more videos. You need to work with Andrew Schultz, and you do these things because you have that kind of potential.
Well, so MMA is not, again, so like MMA and the combat sports out here are kind of decimated, and we have to go into doing shows. So my next show is going to be a Fight Island show, basically
Really?
making fun of the UFC. I'm like yeah. Oh yeah. So
But it's gonna be
Full Metal Fight Island.
in
Full Metal
Thailand.
Fight Island will happen in August.
Okay.
And I basically am going to put comedy into it. I'm going to make everybody go through like an American Ninja Warrior style, Wipeout style, MXC, Takeshi's Castle type of course. And then I'm having comedians do the broadcast. Are you with me?
Fantastic.
Mayhem Miller was supposed to be my one of my analysts, and then we were going to rotate comedians. So I've been in touch with my buddy Peter back there, trying to get Ari Shaffir to do the comedy.
Awesome.
I worked all the comedy tours for Doug Stanhope, Tom Green. So like
awesome.
was trying to get them. And yeah, because I'm never going to be able to compete against the UFC or Bellator or the big boys. But if I can change my market, not too many people actually like fights. Everybody loves comedy. You know what I mean?
True that.
So if I can do that, so Full Metal Island, my little island will go on, and you'll love the name when it actually drops. Right. But when it comes out, yeah, it's going to be comedy related.
So how can people find that? Is there a way to search it? You're looking at August or September, did you say?
Yeah, go onto Facebook. Okay. Facebook's the biggest thing out here.
Okay.
People don't even realize that like the internet has been so slow to reach the rest of the world that in Myanmar they don't even call the internet the internet. They call it Facebook.
Really?
Wow. In Cambodia, they don't call it the internet. They call it Google. People are like, I'm on the Google machine. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah, wild. Yeah, I mean, again, comedy lightens the soul. George Carlin had it all right. You know what I mean?
Did you ever go through your paces? I think you were taking groundlings, weren't you, at one point?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Man. And again, like my teacher, Stephen Little, he became little Stevie Janowski on Eastbound and Down.
No, man, I never watched it. I don't watch much TV, unfortunately.
Right. I know you don't. But again, like Will Ferrell was there when I did the groundlings.
Wow.
That's how old we are. You know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to do that, and I'll get into it. I'm sure I'll get into it. I don't know, again, like what we were talking about before going into comedy, but yeah.
Just talking about doing your events, I think, and perhaps it was about opening back up.
Man, again, like I've helped with events coordinating. So weddings, they're done. Yeah. You know what I mean? Parties, they're done. So you're just going to have to, again, acclimate, adjust, and make those adjustments and try to get on. Again, try to get on with being positive and try to get on with bringing that good vibes to people, you know?
I think you've got the right message. A lot of people, I think, feel like the ship is sinking, and you know, there's one thing when there's transition, there's opportunity.
Oh, I got it. Again, it is transition and opportunities. Ready? If you're woke to the point where you think that we're going to, again, eliminate currency or eliminate the people at the top, what do you do then? Barter trade system? am I going to go up to the woman that's selling chicken up the road and be like, hey, I can do your online marketing for free chicken?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? There's always been a type of currency trade for goods and services, right?
You see it in smaller communities. You see it,
Yeah.
I'm on an island here. There's a lot of that. We've, I've actually talked about it. Just, for now beef is a real commodity here because they had to slaughter all the animals because of the beef plants. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but
no, but if you need beef, we also need to talk, because remember, my dad's a farmer in Montana. So
brother,
all he does is cattle.
Really?
Yeah.
We're gonna talk. We'll figure something out, because that's, for me, that's a whole other discussion.
100%.
So what do you?
I just don't. There's no way that like getting so woke, if you will lead to like amazing things. Again, people don't take advantage. Like my buddy Biggie was not trying to take advantage of the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm. Right place.
He was in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. Luck had mostly to do with it, right? Mm-hmm. Luck means that a whole bunch of people had to die for him to be able to sell his product. He's not really psyched about making his money off of masks, but he is psyched to be living in a new house in Hua Hin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Opportunity.
The other one that's crazy over here is the foreign wealth. Again, do we have time to show my neighbor's house? Can I go do this one again?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I can. Yeah, take your walk.
So the funny one about wealth is that there are so many people that have money on the up. There are so many people. Sorry. Kids asleep. There are so many people that have so much money that they would invest in Thailand, invest in foreign markets, because you don't want to keep, if you're a guy that has money and knows how to rotate capital, you don't want to keep it all in the same place. So that the British and the Aussies, mainly, not the guys in the States, they would buy houses, right? So again, we're outside my house in Phuket, and I had to come down here because I normally rent it out, and there are no more renters. They all left, right? They're all gone. These people are American. He's the man. He's the king of the castle. He works in commerce. Nothing's happened to him. These people left back to their condo in Bangkok and aren't coming back down. These people are Chinese. They're out. This is British right here. And they've left it derelict. They've left it. It's there.
So you're closer to China. You've got a better idea of what's happening there. What's your take on what's happening in China right now?
Well, again, like, I love China. I love Guangzhou. I love Chongqing. Kunming is the shit. The people there are beautiful. Again, most people do not care about politics. And again, like, saying that it's communist, bro, that's a capitalist society. You still need money to be able to do stuff. It's not just given out to you. You know what I mean? I think that the average person from China actually is more uneducated than the average person in America. So they don't actually care about this. They don't even know what's going on. They're so uneducated. They're not even online. Remember, if you're a person that is on Facebook, you're in the 1%. Yeah. You're in the 1%. Because if you have over $36,000, you're in the 1%. Because the people that live up the road are all Burmese laborers. They're all Burmese laborers. And I mean, bro, like, again, like, you want to see what, like, I have a gardener. I have a maid here. This is their mode of transportation. That's their SUV. Yeah. This is their SUV. They carry 6 of themselves on this. You know what I mean? He does my pool. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. They all live in these.
We froze up. You there, John? Hey, John, can you? Yeah,
yep, you're back.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah. So, like, again, this is like Ba. I just showed you her. This is my boy Shane again. Tia Medica in a cup. That's my uncle, Lung Nan.
Hey, how are you?
This is how we're rolling. Yeah, exactly. Swaddy cup. So I mean, again, barbed wire. You
Yeah.
know, um, again, Americans should realize that just by being in America, you have an upper hand and an advantage on the rest of the world, man. So it really is kind of sad for the people in third world countries to see what's going on over there and have people be almost like selfish, like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild.
I'll be honest with you, John. Talking to you today has given me a fresh perspective on a lot of things tonight. I wasn't anticipating at all.
Yeah. Well,
I
I'm glad I could be there for you.
No, seriously, buddy. And this is the point. This is what I'm talking about having conversations with people, because you stay in your echo chamber, you stay in your bubble, you don't grow, you become polarized, and then you become useless, in my opinion. You just become more of the problem. We've got to have these kind of communications
For sure.
because this is the only way to see change.
100%.
Period.
100%.
100%.
Well, yo, man, I am going to get off with you because that was the reason that we just cut off was because my phone is going to cut off.
Gotcha.
So before it cuts off, let's wrap it up, if you will.
Yeah, brother. Listen, really appreciate the time. It's been a pleasure. So share any of your information with us now, where people can find you and what you're doing.
Full Metal Dojo is my company's called Kingdom Company. Again, I do like content provision for Fox and other ESPN and other people like that. So I have a show called Eat, Pray, Fight, or Eat, Play, Fight. You can look for that on YouTube, or check out Full Metal Dojo on Facebook. Again, I will have some comedy and fights being lined up. And again, I'll send you my children's book, which will be done and out in October. I want to start the sales of that for Christmas. And me and you should also talk about beef.
Dude, let's talk. You let me know when you're free to talk anytime this week. Anytime you reach out, shoot me a message on Facebook, and let's do this again. This has been a huge pleasure. I really appreciate your time, man. Good to see you.
Will do, man. Yeah, it's so good to see you too, Shano, man. I love it, brother. Yeah, without doubt. Booyakasha. Yeah.
See you, brother.
Take care. Talk soon.
All right, peace.